Howdy, y'all. I am Adam, the Renaissance Nerd. I love real Star Wars, and now, as promised, little late. I know. Real life happens. Little late, but as promised, Heir to the Empire. Heir to the Empire, the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy by one Timothy Zahn, the man who truly got the expanded universe started. Oh, what can I say? What can I say about this book? It it's great. Even with it does have flaws. But mind you, they're forgivable flaws because because Timothy Zahn was off on his own here, getting a little help from West End Games, getting a little help from Lucasfilm, but he was on his own. He was the one forging the first true path of new Star Wars material. It had been almost a decade, 1991 when this was first released, before we had had any real new Star Wars content to chew on. And up until that point, I was fine with that. I was fine if I had never gotten any new Star Wars. I had my toys, of course, kind of grown out of my toys at that point. But I had the video games that I could play. I was happy. But then this. I mean, I came a year late. I started in 1992 when I saw Dark Force Rising. And then I saw there was a first book, so I'm back. So I came in a year late. But still, Heir to the Empire. Heir to the Empire. There is 100% truth when true, real Star Wars fans say this should have been the sequel trilogy. This is the real sequel trilogy because it gets it all right. And we're going to talk about that. So how am I going to go about this? One, we're going to go over the story. Not super spoilers, but there will be some spoilers just about to the end. I'm going to be very careful not to spoil what's coming in Dark Force Rising and then The Last Command. I'm going to be very careful. That's why I took an extra day to think about this, because I wanted to make sure I had my thoughts aligned so that I would stay within this book and not cheat into what's coming next. So we're going to talk about the story, and then I'm going to talk about the characters and really why they are so important in this book and how Zahn connects to them and brings them forth and really breathes new life into Star Wars that we didn't know it needed at this point. We didn't know we wanted. And then we'll just talk about the good and the bad, because there is bad, but as I said, it's forgivable. And I'll explain why it's forgivable. Now, I will admit right away that because this, you see here, this is the 20th anniversary edition of Heir to the Empire. It's got, you see right here, on a random page, got Zahn's notes, his annotations of what he was thinking, what he was doing, why he did this, why he did that. So a lot of insights I had as I was reading were soon confirmed and reinforced and answered if I had questions about something by the man himself in the book here. So we're going to get into this. So it has been 5 years since the end of Return of the Jedi. We've been following the story so far. Of course, this was the first one. Everything else had to fit into it. We've been following the story so far. The New Republic has been born, but it's fragile. The Empire is still resisting, and an unknown Grand Admiral, Grand Admiral Thrawn, a Chiss, an unknown species to the rest of the galaxy because they're from the uncharted regions. Grand Admiral Thrawn has emerged and is hammering, molding the remains of the Empire into a solid, to be feared fighting force. Remember, in Tatooine Ghost, we got a small taste of him in that. We saw him on the ground. There was that one scene in Tatooine Ghost where Han catches the stormtrooper commander with his helmet off, and he sees glowing red eyes. That was Thrawn. We see that the Empire is more efficient now. It's coming together. It's not the warlords like Zinj and this and that. They're hammering things out. And Thrawn has a plan. Thrawn has a plan. And through the eyes of Captain Pelion, who was at the Battle of Endor, we watch as Thrawn begins his plan. He wants to travel to the world Merkur for a reason. He wants to go to the planet Wayland for a reason. We're going to find out why. Because it's all about destroying this. Thrawn calls it the rebellion. There is no New Republic. There is only the rebellion when it comes to the Grand Admiral. So we go forward. Thrawn begins his plans, but at the same time, the New Republic has its growing pains. We go to Luke. Luke awakens. One last vision of Obi-Wan visits him in his dream saying, Luke, I gotta go. You're on your own, but the Force is with you. You can do this. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you've been taught. Bring forth the Jedi, basically. He doesn't say that, but he basically means that. But Luke, even after all his adventures at this point, he's still unsure of himself. He is unsure of himself. He doesn't know if he has what it takes to be a Jedi Master, to return the Jedi to the galaxy as protectors of justice and good. At the same time, we see that Leia, now several months pregnant with twins, is struggling to help the New Republic government stay afloat. Borsk Felia, a Bothan, is at war politically with Admiral Akbar for control of the military and control of the direction of the government. Mon Mothma seems to be barely holding her leadership ties, keeping them in check. Han has no respect for anybody on the Provisional Council. And he says, maybe we should just back off. Maybe you should just keep with your Jedi training. Because Leia, at this point, Luke has started to train Leia as a Jedi. We've seen her evolution up to this point of accepting her heritage. And she's accepted it at this point. She's ready to be a Jedi, and she's begun practicing. She's not very good at it. She has limited Force control, but she's there. And she definitely has a strong twin Force connection with Luke. Their strength, their bond has grown. They can feel each other across great distances now. They can even sense thoughts and emotions at great distance. It's a cool thing to see. But the story moves forward. We go back to Thrawn because he has landed on the planet Merkur. And he's searching for a particular creature, the Isla Miri. And to do that, he must come in contact with a smuggler leader, Talon Card, a fantastic new original character. Suddenly, new original characters are going to take the front. Get introduced to Talon Card, who's in control of smuggling. At the same time, we also then meet his second in command, Mara Jade, someone who we learn right away has a very, very hate boner for Luke. We don't know why yet. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention Han is not on Coruscant. Han's off flitting around trying to create smuggler alliances. I'm sorry. Han's trying to create smuggler alliances so that he can create new shipping lanes because the Republic needs shipping and the smugglers aren't having it. And that's where Han is. I'm sorry. And that's where we first hear about Talon Card because Han wants to get in touch with him. Anyway, so Thrawn arrives on Merkur. He makes a deal with Card to get his hands on Isla Miri. Why Isla Miri? Well, we learn shortly thereafter when they go to Wayland. Wayland, a planet off in the middle of effing nowhere because Palpatine had a storage facility there called Mount Tantus, filled with artifacts, technology that we're going to learn more about as we go forward, and a dangerous caretaker. A dangerous caretaker who has apparently been slain by another new dangerous caretaker, Jorus Sabaoth, who we quickly learn was a Jedi Master from the New Republic that went missing before the Clone Wars started. What we learn immediately, though, is that the reason Thrawn went to get the Isla Miri was because as soon as Sabaoth tries to do Force doohickeys on Thrawn and Pelion, it fails him. We learn now the introduction of Isla Miri, creatures who have basically through evolution developed Force immunity. They create anti-Force bubbles. They suppress the Force around them, and together, when in groups, expand the bubble. It's going to be a big part of this book. And Sabaoth, I always said Sabaoth. I'm trying to retrain myself to say Sabaoth because Zahn, in his annotations, pronounced it correctly for me. So Sabaoth. We learn quickly that Sabaoth is a clone. And he's a mad clone. He's got broken brain. But in order to win his allegiance, Thrawn needs him because he believes, and Thrawn introduces the idea that Palpatine and Vader exerted, basically, for lack of a better term, force meditation, force cohesion throughout the Imperial fleet, which is why at many times it was a perfectly functioning engine. And when Palpatine died at Endor and Vader died at Endor, that force control, the lack of it, the lack of the meditation, the lack of the cohesion was immediately felt. At least that's Thrawn's theory, which is why he wanted to get his hands on a Jedi Master, Sabaoth, even a broken one like this, and coerce him into being the controlling cohesion for his new fleet. See, Thrawn's thinking, he's thinking several different levels, but at the same time, he wants to use Sabaoth to neutralize Luke Skywalker because he sees the threat that is Luke Skywalker. Anyway, so Thrawn successfully has now completed 2 parts of his plan at this point. He's collected the Isla Miri, who are anti-force, to control Sabaoth, but he's also got his controlling mechanism to help fleet unity across distances, to help things happen. And we see later on he does a nice experiment, makes it work because Thrawn is planning an attack on the Sluis Van shipyards because he needs ships and he needs yards to build the ships. He's got a plan. At the same time, he recognizes that in order to control Sabaoth, he has to use the carrot, not the stick. So he offers Sabaoth Luke Skywalker to try and neutralize Luke, and he offers him Leia and her unborn twins as Jedi to mold in his way. So with the technology of Mount Tantus under his control, and Sabaoth in a fragile alliance, Thrawn now moves to the next stage. Well, the next stage happens to be forcing Leia to get out in the open. What he does, he uses his special assassins, the Nogri. Tiny little, they're only a little bit bigger than Ewoks, apparently. The Nogri, a little species that are basically perfect assassins. They're deadly as hell. And he sends packs of them at Luke, Han, and Leia, who are now at, and I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, Befish. They're on a diplomatic mission to Befish to bring them into the New Republic because they're a growing trade power. They need the economic sway. While on Befish, they are betrayed by a member of the Befish Council, who allows the Nogri there, and the Nogri attack Han, Luke, and Leia. They attack Han, Luke, and Leia. And it's a great little scene. They fight their way free, and they get back on the Falcon. And it's just one thing that sticks out on my mind where Chewie brings the Falcon about, lands it, and the good old drop-down repeater blaster that we see in Empire Strikes Back just taking shit out. Oh, it's great. Luke is doing Jedi crazy shit. It's awesome. Leia does a little bit of Force stuff as well. And it's Star Wars, and it's great. We're going to talk more about that when I'm talking about the characters and why this is so great. Anyway, our heroes, our Holy Trinity, they escape, they get off, but now they realize, okay, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. Somebody is after Leia. Han says, we're going to send you into protective custody, but we need to go someplace safe. First, hey, let's go see Lando. He knows shady people. So right away, we're bringing it back to old school. They're off to see Lando on his latest economic gamble, his latest mining venture. And lo and behold, though, on the way there, before that, though, Luke goes off on his own. He says, I need to go check something out. I need to follow a Force lead while you guys go see Lando. I'll meet you later. I'll find you later. So they go off separate ways. While Han and Leia go off to see Lando, Luke goes to Dagobah. He goes to Dagobah because he wants to try and find some guidance. And he thinks maybe if he goes there, there'll be something Yoda left behind that'll point him on what to do, because he feels adrift. When he goes there, he goes back to the dark side cave, the famous cave from Empire Strikes Back, and he has another vision. A vision, it's Jabba's palace. They're on the sail barge. They're above the Sarlacc. And he knows it's a vision, but he goes along with it because he realizes, okay, I got to see where this goes. And he goes through the whole motions, dropping off, plank, flip around. R2 fires the lightsaber, hand in the air, but the lightsaber doesn't come. It flips away to a female silhouette on top of the sail barge, laughing at him, and everybody dies. Return of the Jedi ends in a different way. The Empire wins. Ooh, Luke snaps back. The vision is over. The vision is over, and Luke realizes that the Force sent him here for a reason, that there are others out there, that there are other forces at play. But he finds something else. He finds a small communicator of a rogue dark Jedi that had come to Dagobah and Yoda had defeated. He finds a communicator. It's a slave device, but he can't really open it, doesn't know what it is. So he thinks, hey, who do I know that might know this stuff? Talks to R2. R2 says, after communicating with R2, they think, hey, let's go see Lando. So now everybody's going to go see Lando. So everybody goes to Lando. And what you have here when they get to Lando, I believe the planet is called Nikleon. It's got this giant, massive sun that requires a shield ship to get everybody there. And everybody everybody ends up at Lando, and we have a great reunion with Lando, and they're talking business. But then Thrawn attacks Lando's mining facility, and they fight him off. But it was just to get. They steal a bunch of mining drones, mining drills, giant drill vehicles. He steals a bunch of them, and it's like, why did he do that? What's going on? If they don't know it's Thrawn, like, what's going on? I don't know. They fight him off. He gets out of there, and that's when now they've come up with a plan. Though after that, they come up with a plan. They decide that in order to hide Leia, they need to send her someplace where she can be surrounded by complete trust and security. They decide to send Leia to Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld, under the protection of Chewbacca and his other Wookiee friends. But instead of going with Leia, Han just sends Chewie, while Han and Lando decide to go out on an adventure on their own, because suddenly they get an in with Talon Karrde because they need a slicer. They need a slicer to protect Leia's whereabouts. But they don't trust their own connections right now because they feel like the Empire is listening in. So Han and Lando head off to see Talon Karrde. Luke decides, I need to go somewhere else, because while at one point during the battle, Luke hears Sabaoth calling out to him through the Force, come to Jacker Murder. I forget what the planet was called. I didn't take notes on this one because it's all up here. I didn't take notes. Anyway, there's a planet that begins with a J. Sabaoth calls, and Luke's like, I need to go there. So our party breaks up. They go off on their adventures, and let's bring the story to a halt. Basic story is Luke ends up in a trap set by Thrawn, because Thrawn wants to take Luke out of the equation before he can get to Sabaoth. So Thrawn nearly captures Luke. Luke gets away, but his X-Wing is broken. He is forced to... I know he's not forced. I'm sorry. He's captured then by Mara, Jade, and Talon Karrde, and they take him to Murker. Han and Lando are on their way to Murker. Leia is on her way to Kashyyyk. And this is where the story it's the last third of the story, and it really picks up in gear as all the different threads are being pulled together. And I'm going to stop here, because then that's spoilers. If you haven't read it yet, that's a ton of spoilers of what happens. There are a lot of important stuff. But let it be known that our heroes come together, and the story ends in a grand epic battle at Sluis Van, and it's fantastic. And you really get great insight to how all these characters are behaving. And now let's talk about the characters. I know that was a little rambling, because you can see, you feel the excitement of it, because how great, how much fun this is. This book is Star Wars, and the characters make you feel like you're in Star Wars. The locations make you feel like you're in Star Wars, because this is where, and I'm going to be comparing this to the disaster that is Disney Star Wars, because this is real Star Wars, and Disney Star Wars is hot garbage, forever burning in hell. This is great, because the universe feels big and wide. In the first place, the universe, the galaxy. The galaxy feels big. You don't feel like you're going to the same 2 or 3 places. We've never been to Kashyyyk before, outside of Knights of the Old Republic. We've never been to a host of these planets that were being introduced. We only go back to 2 known planets in this entire thing. We go to Coruscant, and we go to Dagobah. Other than that, it's one new planet after another, one new species being talked about, all kinds of great stuff. It feels like you're traveling around the galaxy. You feel the time passing. This book takes place over like a 2 or 3 week period, if my estimations are correct. It takes time. weeks, months even, I think, because of some of the repairs of how long. At one point, one of Thrawn's Star Destroyers are damaged, and Pelion gives him an estimation of how long it's taking to repair. So, like a month or two, actually, I think goes by. Take that back. I think that covers a month or two in here. And the characters. Let's just talk about our Holy Trinity right away. You feel like you're with Luke Skywalker. It's a grown-up Luke Skywalker. He is a Jedi. He's at peace with himself, but he is at the same time worried about the future and can he do it? He's at peace with himself in terms of being a Jedi. He feels the Force through him. He can control it, but he doesn't know if he can bring the Jedi back at this point after all his adventures up to this point. Leia, Leia gets, admittedly, Zahn admits he didn't give Leia as much screen time towards the end because he made some changes. Originally, the back end of the book was supposed to be Han and Leia, but he changed it to Han and Lando. And it was a brilliant choice because I'm going to talk about that in a minute of why it's so good. But immediately, Leia is diplomatic mode. But at the same time, you see her being a soon-to-be mother, thinking about her children. You see her express her missing Han in the beginning. We've reached the point. We've watched the evolution of their relationship to being married, to the courtship, to their little adventure in Tatooine Ghost. You know, where they are deeply in love, and that love has created children. And she's worried about them. She wants to keep them safe. And to do that, she wants to help her New Republic grow. But at the same time, she feels it in her gut that she has to become a better Jedi. She must get her training. And this is going to be something we're going to see throughout this entire first arc of the New Republic arc as we go through all the way before the Vong War. Leia's struggle to keep up with her training because her diplomatic, what's a good word? Her, the need that the New Republic has of her as not only a diplomat, but then as a political official, as she, all right, I'll spoil it, as one day being chief of state. She must commit to that more so than ever before being a Jedi. So that's a struggle we see the beginning of here and now in this first book of her want versus need. She wants to be a better Jedi, but the New Republic needs her and her guidance and her ability to be a diplomat and a good politician who wants the best, who has the best intentions of the New Republic, who has no seedy underbelly plan and is not power hungry like Borsk Felia. Han, Zahn admits it in his annotations. He loves riding Han, and you can see it. Han is he is at his best roguish self throughout this whole book, doing Han-like stuff, banter. He plays Sabak at one time, and you feel him into it. It's all, the story is so much great Han stuff in it. And Zahn admits Han has like some of the best one-liners throughout the book. It's just great. It's fun. And then you get the other stuff. You have stalwart Chewie is there. R2 and 3PO. R2 gets a lot of great screen time. 3PO not so much, but R2 on his journey legs with Luke is great. And Lando, that's one of the other brilliant things. You get Lando. We don't wait. We're halfway through the book, we get Lando, and Lando's immediately part of the adventure. It's not, oh, hey, Lando, thanks for help. Thanks for being a plot device. Now we're going to leave you and go on our way. No, Lando is here to stay. Lando is part of the party. The gambler. He's great. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But then, of course, there are the new characters. There is Thrawn, the Grand Admiral, the Chiss, the inflappable Thrawn, who we only see through the eyes of Pelion. And I noticed that. And at one point, Zahn tells us in his annotations that he wanted to not get in the head of any aliens. He always wanted to be in the head of a human because he wanted it to be a mystery of how the alien mind works. So that's why you never get exactly in the head of Thrawn, and while you're watching through the narration of Pelion. And it's just fantastic. Thrawn is great. At one point, towards the end of the book, Zahn says in an annotation, Pelion wonders, and then Zahn confirms his own personal opinion that if Thrawn had been in Endor, would the Empire have won? And Zahn believes, yes, if Thrawn had been in Endor, the Empire would have won. That what happened would not have gone down because Thrawn, he's always 2-3 steps ahead. And even when something goes wrong, even when something doesn't go right, as you see at the end in the Battle of Sluis Von, Thrawn, he's still several moves ahead. He can adapt. He can move around. He cares about it. He cares about his army. He cares about his people. He cares about his cause. He's a true believer in the ideals of the Empire. But he's not a megalomaniac. He's not a warlord Zinj. He's not that high admiral we saw in Heart of the Jedi who's rabid. Thrawn is collected. He's and one of the key things of Thrawn is his belief in that when you study a species' art, you learn about them. And by all intents and purposes, he proves his point every time when dealing with how he attacks certain things, using like Sluisi art or the beginning of the book. We're watching his first attack, and he says the art tells you how they think, how they believe, where their emotions, where their passions are, and he uses it. He's the thinker. This is why Thrawn is one of the best villains ever created, because he has no force powers. He's just got his mind, just has his mind, and by the end of this, he almost wins. One moment at the end of the trilogy in Last Command, if not for one thing, which begins here in this book, one thing. And we'll talk about that when we get to Last Command. He would have won because he was smarter than everybody else. He has trouble accounting for the X factor that is Luke Skywalker, but Thrawn is incredible. Pelion introduced for the first time as well. Pelion is your good soldier. Not brainwashed, a good soldier, understands how a military should work, but understands chain of command, understands the difference between Thrawn and Vader and Palpatine, the difference between ruling by fear and ruling by heart. Because Thrawn has heart, and it's great. Then, of course, there's Talon Card and Mara Jade. Card, I didn't know what to think of Card when I first read this. Now, in this read through this, like my third time reading this book ever, I think. Yeah, my third time reading it ever. Card is great. Talon Card is great because he's like a smaller version of Thrawn, a man who likes to have everything planned out, who likes to have contingencies, who likes to be in control, but has a morality center. He has a moral center, and he believes in being a good host. He believes in loyalty. He believes in respect. He believes in giving respect and getting respect back. And it shows that in his actions where he doesn't turn in our heroes at one point. He doesn't betray things because he's trying to look for the best outcome that not only serves himself, but is maybe better for everything down the road. And then, of course, there is Mara Jade. Mara Jade, who hates Luke Skywalker, has a massive chip on her shoulder, and I'm not going to reveal why. Actually, you know what? I will reveal why, because it's revealed in this book, so it's not a major spoiler, that she was what was known as the Emperor's Hand. She was Palpatine's mover in the shadows, his assassin. And we know, hasn't been fully revealed yet, but she's force sensitive. She's force sensitive. You see it throughout the book. She used to talk about using a lightsaber, the fact that she's the one in the vision that snatches the lightsaber as it's supposed to go to Luke's hand. She hates Luke because at this point, I can't say why yet because we haven't revealed it, but at this point she blames Luke for everything because the Empire, when the Empire existed with Palpatine in power, she had respect, she had a life. But now, once that immediately, as soon as it was gone, she was left with nothing. And she blames him for everything. We're going to learn why in the coming books, exactly why. And why it's so important. And why the title of the third book, Last Command, has a meaning connected to Mara. Why that. So, Mara is great. And of course, there is foreshadowing. But now we're going to talk about their adventures because I want to go about how this plays out and why. Now we're going to talk about why Timothy Zahn gets it as a creator of Star Wars stories, and J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, all those hacks don't. Within the first 100 pages, Han, Luke, and Leia, and Chewie, and R2, and 3PO are off on an adventure together. They're off to Bafish. They're put together to do something. They're put in the same place. They're put on the Falcon, and they're off to do something. together. Bantering, talking, being together. You feel the emotion. You feel the love. They are a family. Husband and wife, brother, sister, brother-in-laws. They are a family. Chewie, their protective shield. The ever stalwart furry wall. And you feel it right there. And then right away, there's action and adventure put right in there when they're attacked by the Nogri on Bafish. And it's just great. Luke being a Jedi, Han being a rogue, doing crazy stuff to get them out of there. Leia using her burgeoning Force abilities to help them out, to summon Luke, to let them know there's a problem. I mean, it's also great. And then it gets even better because Timothy Zahn is not afraid to separate the group, but still keep the group dynamic going in a classic fashion. That I think I must have learned this from him when I started writing, because I have a tendency, once I establish large groups in my own stories, I'll break them off into different groups and they'll go their own separate way and have separate branching adventures. Timothy Zahn does this beautifully. After they go to Lando, after the attack at Nikleon, and they go their separate ways, and Leia's going into hiding at Kashyyyk, Leia and Chewie are on an adventure together. Han and Lando, old buddy, old pal, they're on an adventure. And the Han and Lando relationship is on full, glorious display in this. Their adventure, when they go to Merkur and are interacting with Card, and when they learn that Luke's in trouble on Merkur, it's fantastic to see their interplay, to see them work together. You get the feeling, you know you're watching a Star Wars adventure. You're feeling it. You're into it because you feel the camaraderie. It's Han and Lando. They tell jokes. They tell old stories. And you're there. Not Solo, a Star Wars story. No, real Han and Lando stories from when they were young, when they were adventuring. How Han got the Millennium Falcon. I mean, it's great. It's fun. You feel it. Luke, off on his own, eventually getting pulled into the sphere of Mara Jade and Talon Card, and Luke and Mara's essential first date as they're going through the forest of Merkur, being attacked by wild beasts. I mean, it's fantastic, and you learn about this, and Luke, ever the patient Jedi, cut off from the Force, because once he's on Merkur, Luke is cut off from the Force, because the planet's covered in Isla Miri. So he's cut off with the Force. For the whole back half of the book, Luke is basically neutered. But he's still a Jedi. And he still acts like a Jedi, behaves like a Jedi, and does Jedi things, maintains his calm, tries to earn Mara's trust, tries to look past hate and anger. I mean, it's great. It's Luke Skywalker, the hero we know and love, not Jake Skywalker, the man who abandons his responsibilities. The man who tries to kill his nephew because he had a bad dream. No, this is the man that saved his father from the dark side. This is the man that is always a hero. And Luke has hero moments throughout this entire book, and it's great when it happens. They're always going, at one point, after the escape from Merkur, Pelion, I think it was Pelion or Thrawn's like, one man did this. One man. No, it was Talon Card walking around. One man did this. It was called, Thrawn never goes back to Merkur after he leaves the second time. Yeah, Talon Card walking in this debris after they have escaped the Stormtrooper trap. Is one man, and he didn't even have the Force. He wasn't even using the Force. One man did this. Luke, the X Factor. I mean, so you get what I'm feeling. And I haven't mentioned Sabaoth, because Sabaoth, after a couple scenes in the middle of the book, he's gone. We don't see him again until book 2. He's off waiting on Jakand. I think that's what Jakar, something like that. Anyway, he's off waiting for Luke to walk into his trap there. But you see what I'm talking about there. This book is covered in Star Wars adventure, respecting of the characters, respecting their abilities, not putting them in situations that put them in bad lights, and they're not outshined by the new characters. The new characters become one with this galaxy far, far away. That's why Timothy Zahn, a real writer, is able to create 5 new major characters. And Sabaoth, he's only in this trilogy, but 5 major characters with Mara Jade, Thrawn, Pelion, Sabaoth, Talon Card. He's able to create 5 new characters and seamlessly integrate them into the Star Wars universe. You feel like they've been there forever. You feel it by the end of this book, At this point, if you're grumbling at Mara Jade. If you don't know what happens, you're grumbling at Mara Jade like, you bitch. How could you treat Luke like that? You're Imperial whore. Ugh. Talon Card's like, man, I dig Card. I like the cut of his jib. He's always got a plan. He's not evil, but he's morally gray. He's trying to find the best way for himself and his own people because he believes in his own people. You get Thrawn. You have respect for Thrawn. You don't hate Thrawn. You don't hate Thrawn. You have dark respect for Thrawn because he's got that charisma of the calculating villain. And he's not doing anything out of hate or anger. He's doing it out of what he believes as a duty to his beliefs, to his ideology. That the Empire must be there to maintain order. And he doesn't want to waste lives to do it. He has a plan. I mean, you feel for it. And Pelion, we know Pelion, but you're going to get more Pelion as the EU goes on, and Pelion will grow as a character beyond what we get in this first trilogy. But Pelion, he was introduced by Zahn, and he's an integral part to all of this as well because it's just well-crafted characters and well-crafted storytelling. Not that there isn't problems with the book. There are problems with the book. Just for a couple of examples. One, and Zahn admits these are problems, but he gives us the reasons why he had to do it. One, he doesn't say the word Sith at all when referring to the dark side and dark side Jedi, because at this point, per his admission, George had not really defined publicly what the Sith were yet as of 1980. We'll say 1990 because that's when he was writing this book in 1990. George hadn't defined Sith yet. So he just calls everybody a dark Jedi. Okay, we can forgive that. And besides, Sabaoth, he wasn't a Sith. He became a dark Jedi. So it works. He makes a couple of mistakes about the Clone Wars in here. Again, that's forgettable because George hadn't given anybody the information yet. It's forgivable. Does a couple little things here and there in terms of what was it? It was some. Oh yes, it was like origin, having to do with the Nogri and some other things. He came up with his whole origin stuff and this and that, but then it didn't work because of what he eventually found out about the Clone Wars. But still, a lot of little inconsistencies that do get retconned as time goes by. But the inconsistencies are acceptable because at the time, the only partner that Zahn had to work with was West End Games, the company in control of the Star Wars tabletop role-playing game, and they had all the source material. So that was his biggest tool on his belt to work with this, and he worked with it. And West End Games worked with Timothy Zahn constantly to make sure they could get things as accurate as possible. Zahn was constantly worried about keeping things as accurate as he could because he wanted us to feel like we were in a Star Wars thing. We were in a Star Wars movie. And in his opening thing, he has this. I've read this before when I've started the book. His opening on the first page, his first annotation on chapter 1. Each of the 3 classic Star Wars movies includes a Star Destroyer in its opening scene. All of my Rebellion era books do the same. See, right away, he wanted you to know you were in a Star Wars book, in a Star Wars movie. This is nothing but respect for Star Wars, and that's why you need to read this book. If you haven't read it, you need to go read this book. And it's the beginning of the EU adventure, which will now continue. Dark Force Rising. Dark Force Rising. This is a first edition. I haven't even cracked it open yet. And this is the third time I bought this. I had my original hardback first edition. Then I had a paperback that I took with me to college because I didn't want to take this with me. And then my original, and then everything else got lost in boxes in a Quonset hut in Florida after a divorce with my mom and my stepdad. So I lost all my first editions, but because I was persistent all this year, I got another first edition without the Legends tag. So Dark Force Rising got this classic artwork, and it's funny. Most of this artwork you feel it like that they took it from Star Wars movie poses. I mean, you can see here, this is old Star Wars movie poses here. So they did it again on this artwork, but it's great. And there's the little tidbits that were teased in Heir to the Empire start to bear fruit here. At one point, Thrawn mentions a fleet, We're going to find out what that means in here. We're going to find more about what Mara, why she's so locked into her hatred for Luke. We're going to learn more about Sabaoth. We're going to learn more about what's going on with the other technologies in Mount Tantus. One of the reasons Thrawn believes that as long as he holds Mount Tantus, he will be victorious no matter what because of the technology in there. And then of course the continuing story of watching the Republic struggle against the Empire, against its own little problems. Anyway, here we go. Dark Force Rising. Let's see. It's November 1st. Give me a month. It's the holidays. I got a lot of other things coming up on the channel. Give me a month. Let's say first week in December. I will try and have this done by then. If I get it done before then, great. So you got at least a couple weeks. Get your hand on a copy, hopefully without a Legends tag. If you have to get it on audio, then get it on audio, digital. Get your hands on it. Read it. Get ready. We're gonna have a lot of fun. This is good. This is just it's so good. It's just so good to be in Star Wars, to have real Star Wars, to see, to feel what real Star Wars is and what Disney Star Wars isn't. All right, I'm done. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, a like would be appreciated. If you're new here, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification button. Share my video if you like what I'm preaching, and please comment away. These videos are all about getting comments from you guys, starting a discussion. Go to the Geeks and Gamers web forums. The link will be in the description below. I'm going to be talking about it there if you want to talk about it there. Thank you again for watching. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't do Facebook. I will never do Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, just email me. It's purely for this channel. I will not miss your communication. Check me out at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS. Join me in conversations there, among many others. And I'm now on Odyssey @The Renaissance Nerd. Follow me there as well. Help us keep fighting to return escapism to entertainment. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.